Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 28 based on novel. So let's start. When Lindong exited the burning sky cauldron, the first thing he noticed was Shan sleeping peaceful atop the life-death coffin cover like a little kitten. Unable to hold it in, he bitterly laughed. This little lass sleeps a little too much. Could she have been sleeping all along while he was closed within the cauldron? Lindong stood before the floating life-death coffin cover, as he stared at Shan's porcelain doll-like face. At this moment, a strand of saliva was hanging from the corner of her mouth, evidence of the sweet dream she was having. This lass. With a slight smile, Lindong shook his head as he gently stroked Shan's little head. As his palm made contact with her, his pupils suddenly contracted. The devouring ancestral symbol within his body had unexpectedly started to tremble at this moment. What's going on? Lindong pursed his lips, as his expression started to fluctuate irregularly. Why did the devouring ancestral symbol within him have such a strange response towards Shan? Yang floated out beside Lindong, and stared at the comfortably sleeping Shan while frowning. After some hesitation, he suddenly waved his hand as a tiny ray of light shot out, before shining on Shan's body. Under the illumination of the light, a bright light suddenly floated out from Shan's body, before transforming into a mini whale. The whale appeared black and white, akin to the fusion of yin and yang. At the same time, an ancient and peculiar fluctuation was continuously emitted from it. This is Shan's demonic spirit? Lindong was a little taken aback as he gazed upon the similarly soundly sleeping little whale. Yes. Yang nodded his head and muttered, this body is indeed of the immortal sage whale clan, however, these fluctuations seem somewhat strange. They aren't only those of the immortal sage whale. Upon hearing Yang's mumbling, Lindong could not help but shrug his shoulders. Looks like this lass is not so simple after all. Even you are unable to understand her inner intricacies. At this point, Lindong's eyes suddenly flashed as he asked, could Shan be a reincarnator? These fluctuations are more peculiar than those of a reincarnator, Yang replied. Lindong was stunned. Soon after, he shook his head in helplessness. He did not plan on asking Shan about it, and it was possible that she did not even know about her strangeness. Even if she knew, everyone had their own secrets, and it was inappropriate for him to question her too much. Forget it, you can investigate in future. Upon hearing Lindong's words, Yang also felt helpless and nodded his head. He was likely somewhat unresigned. With his knowledge and experience, there was nothing that he had not seen in this world. Yet, he was somewhat at a loss due to this lass before him. Yang's figure transformed into a flash of light, and shot into Lindong's body once again. Subsequently, Lindong retracted his palm from Shan's head, before giving a dry cough. Oh, brother Lindong, is your training over? As his dry cough rang out, there was finally some response from the soundly sleeping Shan. In a flash, she hastily opened her large and clear gemstone-like eyes. Her face was red like a beetroot as she said in embarrassment, it seems that I fell asleep without noticing. Lindong chuckled and replied, let's go and for a stroll. Great. Upon hearing that she could go out, Shan's sheep horn-like braids swayed in excitement. It was likely that asking her to obediently stay in the room and stand guard for Lindong had made her feel stifled and torment. With a laugh, Lindong rubbed her sheep horn-like braids, before keeping the burning sky cauldron within his body. Turning around, he led Shan out of the room. During the few days that Lindong had been in closed cultivation, the number of people within Sky Merchant City had increased at a terrifying speed. Countless experts had gathered from the neighboring sea regions. In this way, the mix of characters within Sky Merchant City continued to become increasingly varied. Due to the presence of all kinds of bad characters, the order within the city had turned substantially more chaotic. While Lindong strolled about Sky Merchant City with Shan, he also obtained a substantial amount of information. According to what he heard, other than the demonic Wind Cave, even the other great faction of the Heavenly Wind Sea region, the Universe Cave, had also arrived in Sky Merchant City. Furthermore, the leader of their group was also known as the pinnacle expert in the younger generation of the Heavenly Wind Sea region, Universe Han Ju Qian. Other than the demonic Wind Cave and the Universe Cave, there was the illusionary demon sect of the Illusionary Demon Sea, the Heavenly Tablet School of the Northern Shan Sea, and various others. These factions were all overlord existences of their regions in the chaotic Demon Sea. Yet, all of them had now gathered in Sky Merchant City. From the looks of it, turbulent times were coming for Sky Merchant City. As expected of the Sky Merchant Court, its rallying power is so terrifying. Upon learning about this situation, Lindong could not help but secretly feel speechless. A single auction was able to attract the attention of all these heavyweight powers. From the looks of it, the quality of the auction hosted by the Sky Merchant Court seemed rather high. At this point, anticipation involuntarily gushed out from Lindong's heart. Would he be able to obtain the sea map of the second ancestral symbol from this auction? There's still 2 days before the start of the auction. During these 2 days, the atmosphere within Sky Merchant City was seemingly on the brink of exploding. The days passed in the blink of an eye, as the first rays of sunlight shone down in the early morning, while the entire city became akin to a volcano erupting in full force. At this moment, the entire city was totally immersed in a frenzied state. As Lindong and Lingshan walked out of the tavern, whooshing sounds that rang out all over the sky, as figures shot towards the northern part of the city like a swarm of locusts. That great array has been activated. Lindong raised his head and looked towards the gigantic array that enveloped the entire city. At this moment, its radiance was much more solid than before. A boundless fluctuation was faintly discernible as it radiated out from it. Clearly, the Sky Merchant Court had activated the city protection array. Under the intimidation of this array, even a perfect profound death stage expert would not dare to behave atrociously in front of the Sky Merchant Court's main doors. Let's go. Lindong smiled towards Lingshan, who was so excited that she was looking furiously in all directions. With a move of his body, he shot into the sky, before heading towards the north. Behind him, a blue little tail swiftly followed. A plaza floated in the northern part of Sky Merchant City. The plaza was approximately 100,000 feet wide, allowing it to amply house 100,000 people. This plaza was where the Sky Merchant Court held their auctions. A screen of light descended round the plaza, and it originated from the Great Protection Array in the sky above Sky Merchant City. Anyone wanting to participate in the auction within this plaza would need to an invitation letter sent out by the Sky Merchant Court. Lindong stopped before the light screen and flipped his palm, as a purplish-black invitation letter appeared in his hand. Flicking it towards the light array, it instantly trembled, producing a crack, which Lindong and Lingshan swiftly shot through. Bang! The moment he entered the light array, a deafening clamor swarmed towards him, causing Lindong to faintly wrinkle his eyebrows. Raising his gaze, he saw a sea of humans that stretched to the end of his sight. He felt somewhat helpless as he shook his head. This was the first time he had attended an auction of such scale. Let's go to our seats first. Lindong's gaze swept across the vast plaza, before he led Lingshan and landed at certain spot among the seats in front of them. Brother Lindong, you've indeed come. Just as his figure swept across the air, laughter akin to the chiming of bells suddenly rang out from in front of him. Upon raising his head, the first thing he saw was the slender and elegant figure of Tang Dongling, smiling as she looked at him. Since I've come to Sky Merchant City, how could I miss such a grand occasion? Lindong had a somewhat favorable impression of this Tang Dongling, hence, he stopped and replied her with a smile. Tang Dongling covered her mouth and laughed. She was extremely beautiful. Together with her high status within the Sky Merchant Court, her chat with Lindong attracted the attention of several gazes. Quite a few of those gazes swept across Lindong's body, trying to find exactly who was it that had gained the good graces of the missus of Sky Merchant Court. Lindong also sensed the popularity that Tang Dongling possessed. Those gazes made him feel slightly unnaturally. However, just as he was about to request his leave, numerous whooshing sounds suddenly rang out behind him. He shot a glance at them, as he frowned a little. The ones who had come was the little underworld king Xie Yang of the demonic Wind Cave. Dongling, after not seeing you for a year, you've grown increasingly beautiful. Xie Yang arrived beside the two, and sent a smile towards Tang Dongling. His tone was rather intimate. "Miss Tang, I'll take my leave first." Not wanting to have any contact with Xie Yang, Lindong shot a look at the latter, before saying a few words towards Tang Dongling as he prepared to leave. Just as he turned around, a soft laughter suddenly rang out from Xie Yang. Staring at Lindong with some amusement in his eyes, he said in a soft voice, "So you're Lindong?" Lindong's body paused, as a stern glint crept up from the depths of his eyes. Lindong's body faintly paused. A split second later, he slowly turned his gaze towards Xie Yang, who had some amusement in his eyes, as he spoke out in a flat voice, "Is there a problem?" Xie Yang's fingers were interlaced together, as he stared at Lindong with interest and replied, "I've received a piece of news 2 days ago. The nefarious bone old man of our demonic wind cave had been unexpectedly seriously injured by you." "Ha ha, I'm indeed very curious. Exactly what did you, person at the initial profound life stage, rely on to achieve such a feat? This seems to be unrelated to you, right?" Lindong's eyes faintly narrowed as he responded. "From a certain perspective, the nefarious bone old man is a part of our demonic wind cave. Since you've injured him, you've hurt the face of our demonic wind cave." Xie Yang replied with a smile. "Does that mean that you, sir, are planning to capture me as an apology to that old ghost?" Lindong asked with a smile. However, that smile had a fierceness that was akin to the sharp edge of a knife. "You're indeed a brazen person, as the rumors say. However, if there's a chance, I will bring you back to the nefarious bone old man to deal with." Xie Yang smiled and replied, while stroking a jade ring on his thumb. He could hear quite a bit of hostility from Lindong's words, causing him to feel somewhat unhappy. After all, not many within the younger generation could speak to him in such a manner. Although he did not know what methods the latter had employed to injure the nefarious bone old man, Xie Yang did not believe that it was his own strength. It was more than likely due to some kind of external help, together with a strategy against the nefarious bone old man. Hence, causing the latter to be caught off guard, and end up being injured to such an extent. "I'm afraid you don't have the capability," Lindong replied with a faint smile. "Is that so?" Xie Yang pursed his while gently smiling. However, hidden under his smile was an evil and sinister fluctuation that caused one's heart to palpitate. The two of them faced each other in the sky, with neither prepared to give an inch, while the flow of air around them seemed to have stealthily become somewhat solemn. "Young Master Xie, my sky merchant court is hosting the auction here today, and this place isn't suitable for fighting. Therefore, I hope that you will cease your dispute on account of our sky merchant court." Tang Dongling was a good-natured person. However, in response to the two individuals facing off in the sky, her brows had started to faintly wrinkle as she spoke. "Ha ha, since Dongling has spoken, I'll naturally show my respect." Xie Yang leaned his head to the side and looked towards Tang Dongling, as a gentle smile surfaced on his handsome face. "I have come here to attend to other matters. As for the grudge between you and the nefarious bone old man, he will handle it himself. Therefore, if you do not wish for trouble, you better restrain your so-called arrogance in front of me. If not, you will not like what will happen." Xie Yang shrugged his shoulders at Lindong, giving off a carefree appearance as he continued, "Perhaps you feel that those words aren't pleasant to hear. However, there are some people that you cannot afford to offend after all. This is a truth that cannot be changed. Within the chaotic demon sea, if one doesn't have ample backing, I believe it is better to not be overly arrogant." Lindong's eyes hardened slightly as he stared at Xie Yang. Moments later, he faintly smiled as he replied, "Thanks for your reminder. However, I will also give those words back to you. In my eyes, your so-called backing is not very intimidating. The things that I've seen are also something that you can never imagine. You've said this earlier, this is the grudge between me and nefarious bone old man, and doesn't have much relation to you. However, if you were to meddle in this affair, I will be happy to accompany you. However, I'm usually unbridled and totally unrestrained in the way I handle things. There will be consequences that I'm afraid that even you are unable to bear. Therefore, before you plan on doing anything, allow me to caution you to think thrice before doing so." Upon hearing those words, the smile present on Xie Yang's handsome face started to slowly retreat bit by bit, as a sinister look appeared within the depths of his eyes. Those words by Lindong had not given him even a little bit of face. Tang Dongling had also gawked upon hearing Lindong's words, before her beautiful eyes sparkled faintly. She had some information about Lindong. Therefore, she did not believe he was acting pretentiously by saying those words. A person that could escape with his life after being attacked by 3 Samsara stage super experts indeed had the qualifications to say those words to Xie Yang. The smile on Xie Yang's face had already completely vanished. However, a somewhat sinister laugh emerged from his mouth. His 10 clasped fingers straightened, as he faintly nodded his head and said, "I'll remember your words. However, I believe that your words will end up amusing yourself in the end." Right after saying those words, Xie Yang turned and smiled towards Tang Dongling, before turning around to leave. As he did so, the evil aura around his body abruptly became much more thicker, with chilling intent now mixed within it. From the looks of it, the conversation between the two of them was considerably unpleasant. "What you did has truly offended him," Tang Dongling pursed her red lips, as she looked at Lindong and remarked. "I don't like trouble. However, if there are people who insist of forcing their way in, I can only kick them away." Lindong chuckled and cupped his hands towards Tang Dongling. "Thanks, Miss Tang. I'll go to my seat first. I believe that today's auction will definitely be very spectacular." Upon saying those words, he did not tarry any longer, and brought Mu Ling Shan as they descended towards the seats. Tang Dongling's intelligent eyes faintly sparkled as she looked at Lindong's back. From the looks of it, the probability of the person before her being the same person as that Lindong from the eastern Shan region should be around 80%, as the character and speaking mannerisms of the two of them were practically the same. No wonder who he dares to challenge Xie Yang. Looks like his backing is also quite strong, Tang Dongling faintly smiled, before she turned around and left. That fellow is truly detestable. I really wish to send him flying with a punch. Upon landing on their seats, Mu Lingshan frowned with her little mouth. The fellow she was talking about was naturally Xie Yang, whom they had encountered earlier. Lindong nodded his head slightly. He could see that Xie Yang seemed to have some special feelings towards Tang Dongling. The way he had spoken at that start was undoubtedly a warning towards Lindong. However, conveying this in such a way was rather problematic, as he had chosen the way that Lindong detested to most, threatening. This made Lindong, who usually only submitted to soft approaches, and rejected hard ones, to feel exceeding unhappy. Lindong shot a glance at Xie Yang, who was seated in the place reserved for distinguished customers, as he faintly narrowed his eyes. Hopefully, this fellow would not try to cause trouble for no reason. If not, regardless of whatever status he had within the demonic wind cave, if he provoked Lindong's anger, he would directly kill Xie Yang. In the front, Xie Yang seemed to be rather sensitive to such a gaze, as he shot a glance from the corner of his eye and located Lindong behind. The eyes that were originally filled with slight maliciousness instantly became conspicuously darker and sinister. Young Cave Master, is that the Lindong who was said to have injured the nefarious Bone Old Man? An elder in black at Xie Yang's side also shot a look in Lindong's direction with his turbid eyes, and inquired. Yes. A brat that doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and the earth. Xie Yang replied with a sneer, before continuing, if not for the task we have been assigned to do here, I'll definitely break that brat's 4 limbs, and capture him to be delivered before the nefarious Bone Old Man. Ha ha. There's no need for young Cave Master to be angry. If this matter goes smoothly, after the auction is over, this old man will definitely take action and capture him. At that time, young Cave Master can do whatever you want with him. The black-cloaked elder said with a faint smile. Although the matter of Lindong injuring the nefarious Bone Old Man was extremely unbelievable, both of them knew that Lindong had definitely set up some hidden scheme, and the former had been caught by it due to his negligence. As long as this point taken note of, this Lindong would not be able to do anything. After all, at the end of the day, the latter only had the strength of the initial profound life stage. Let's get our hands on that item first. Xie Yang scanned his surroundings, before he replied, quite a few heavyweights have come. We can assume that they are also after the same item, and it's still unknown if we will be able to obtain it in the end. The black-clothed elder nodded. After some slight hesitation, he asked in a low voice, "Is that information verified?" "We still do not know. However, regardless of whether it is real or fake, we can only feel at ease if it lands in our hands," Xie Yang replied. "Yes?" Lindong retracted his gaze from Xie Yang's body. Just as he was about to close his eyes to take a rest, he felt a gaze on him. Immediately, he tilted his head, and saw a rather handsome man at the right in front dressed in white, staring at him with a faint smile on his face. The male had a lanky build, and his hands were exceeding slender. Furthermore, they appeared to have a gem-like luster on them. When looking at them, one could feel a faint feeling of them being able to flip and cover the universe, a considerably peculiar feeling. Lindong gazed at the man dressed in white. His eyes faintly hardened as he muttered, "Universe hand. Zhu Qian. This place is really lively." Nodding his head and smiling towards the man dressed in white, Lindong retracted his gaze, as he muttered within his heart. This Sky Merchant Court auction was truly a place where numerous experts gathered like the clouds in the sky. Looks like there would indeed be a good show to watch in this auction. As this thought flashed past in Lindong's mind, a clear ring of a bell resounded out from the center of the vast auction square. In the next moment, a beautiful figure dressed in red arrived. It was Tang Dongling. Lindong watched as the lady in red landed on the platform, and faintly straightened his body. He knew that the auction was finally about to begin. The clear chime of a bell resounded over this spacious auction ground, as the originally terribly noisy place suddenly became quiet. Countless fiery hot gazes, which were filled with anticipation, shot out. Finally, they paused on the red figure on the auction stage at the middle. The current young Mrs. Tang is becoming increasingly pretty and attractive. She looks just like a little fox that makes one's heart itch. Whoever manages to marry her will truly be blessed. Ha ha, moreover, she is also the young missus of Sky Merchant Court. Whoever marries her will enjoy the endless amount of wealth and resources of Sky Merchant Court. As long as one possesses some talent, one will definitely become a first-class expert in the chaotic demon sea in the future. TCH, stop letting your imagination run wild. The number of young and handsome geniuses chasing her can form a line from the north of Sky Merchant region all the way to the south. How will you even get a turn? Lindong listened to the laughter all around him, as his eyebrows raised slightly for a moment. Although he had guessed that this Tang Dongling likely possessed a high position within Sky Merchant Court, he did not expect that she would actually be the young missus. She is indeed a wealthy little lady, Lindong quietly laughed. Given the wealth of Sky Merchant Court, marrying her would be akin to ascending the heavens in a single step. On the auction stage, Tang Dongling was completely at ease even under those countless pairs of eyes that contained various emotions. Her sharp and exquisite face contained a smile that made one's heart itch. This woman naturally had a kind of charm. Although she did not display it openly, her every frown and smile would stir one's soul. Everyone, let me first thank everyone for coming here to join us on behalf of Sky Merchant Court. The Sky Merchant auction this time around will likely not disappoint anyone. Tang Dongling gazed upon the entire square with a face full of smiles. Her soft and lovely voice caused many to shut their eyes while feeling slightly intoxicated. Having such an attractive beauty host this auction was likely more comfortable than having an old man do so. I shall not say anything unnecessary. It is about time. The auction shall now begin. Tang Dongling smiled sweetly. She waved her jade-like hand, and a pretty female servant stepped forward while carrying a silver plate. Atop the silver plate was a dark red scroll that sparkled like a gem. Flame Demon Sky Connecting Palm. A middle-level heaven martial art. It was created by a samsara stage expert 1,000 years ago, and will be able to burn the world after mastering it. Tang Dongling's soft and gentle voice slowly spread. Sure enough, it stirred quite a big commotion within the auction area. A heaven martial art was rather rare even within this chaotic demon sea. Moreover, this was a middle-level heaven martial art. Many people felt a great desire towards such items that could raise one's fighting strength. Starting off with a heaven martial art, they are really bold. Lindong inwardly praised. If such a martial art was placed in the eastern Shan region, it would definitely be placed as one of the latter key objects to be auctioned. Yet, it was the first to be taken out in this place. Although this was perhaps purposefully done by the Sky Merchant Court to make the atmosphere more lively, it was still possible to sense the quality of the auction through this. The auction price of this martial art starts at 2 million Shen Yuan pills. Any friends who are interested should not miss this opportunity. After Tang Dongling smilingly uttered these words, the entire place was momentarily silent, before someone quickly called out a bid. Moreover, there seemed to be many who had their eyes on this item. Hence, the price broke 3 million Shen Yuan pills in a short couple of minutes. Lindong smacked his lips together. It seemed that there were indeed many people in this chaotic demon sea who possessed great wealth. Compared to them, he was obviously poor. Fortunately, he was not too interested in this martial art. The few martial arts that he possessed all far surpassed this so-called flame demon sky connecting palm. Hence, as Lindong passively watched from the sidelines, the opening article, the heaven martial art, was finally being obtained by a tall-looking man with a scar on his face for a price of 3,800,000 Shen Yuan pills. After the stimulation of the opening heaven martial art article, the atmosphere of the auction began to swiftly heat up. Although the prices of the next few auctions did not reach the same level, the atmosphere of the place was becoming increasingly fiery. However, Lindong was unaffected by this fiery atmosphere. He was considered cash-strapped when compared with these extremely wealthy individuals. Moreover, it was difficult for these auction articles to entice him. What he was waiting for now were those sea maps of unknown sea regions. After a couple of ordinary auctions came to an end, the auction clearly began to gradually proceed towards the main event, while the prices of the auction items that were being brought out also began to soar. Moreover, some of the better items amongst them had also drawn in the calm Lindong a little. However, he ultimately chose to give them up after some hesitation. After a high-level heavenly-grade soul treasure was being successfully sold for a rather good price, another auction article was respectfully brought forward by a female servant. Lindong's gaze swept over it. After which, his body, which was leaning against the chair, suddenly sat up, as joy surged from within his eyes. This was because the item sitting on the silver plate was a brown sea map. This is a sea map that we have obtained from the sea demon tribe. The sea region inside it is not a known one, and is likely some unknown sea region. The auction price is 800,000 Shen Yuan pills. An unknown sea map like this usually belonged to the category of a somewhat unorthodox auction item. The main buyers of such an item were mostly risk-taking pirate groups. However, those unknown sea regions are fraught with danger, and a majority of the pirates who had embarked on a journey in search of treasure had disappeared. Hence, this kind of sea map depicting an unknown sea region was usually not overly expensive. 800,000 Shen Yuan pills was already a relatively high price. 900,000. Soon after some whispers broke out in the spacious auction area, a single-eyed man took the lead and shouted his bid. His powerful voice was wrapped around by vigorous yuan power as it resounded across the area. 1 million. Another person's deep voice sounded soon after the single-eyed man cried out his bid. Lindong suppressed the joy within his eyes, but did not immediately open his mouth. Instead, he quietly waited for both parties to push the price to around 1,300,000, before he finally said, 1,800,000. The sudden increase of 500,000 Shen Yuan pills caused the two people contending for it to be startled. They fiercely glared at Lindong, and hesitated for a while, before finally sitting down. After all, they did not know whether the unknown sea region had any worthwhile treasures. Using nearly 2 million Shen Yuan pills on such a gamble did not seem profitable. From the auction stage, Tang Dongling's pretty eyes contained some surprise as she glanced at Lindong, who had bid a high price to purchase this unknown sea map. She could not understand why Lindong would be interested in this thing no matter how she thought about it. Could it be that he was unaware that this kind of sea map most likely depicted some poor sea region that would not yield any gain despite its danger? Although Tang Dongling felt some doubt within her heart, she was currently not in a position to say anything. All she could do was smile at Lindong, before letting her hammer fall, completing the auction process. Lindong quietly sighed in relief after the first unknown sea map was obtained. Regardless of whether this unknown sea map had any information that he required, he did not have much choice for the sake of obtaining the second ancestral symbol. If he somehow accidentally managed to obtain what he needed, this small price would be repaid many times over. Lindong's mood became much better after the first map entered his hands, and he began to pay attention to the subsequent auctions. It must be said that the auction held by the Sky Merchant Court was indeed quite good. The endless number of auctioned items could be described as all-encompassing. Martial arts, soul treasures, spiritual ingredients, etc. It had everything to offer. No wonder it was said that as long as one had sufficient Shen Yuan pills, it would be possible for one to obtain anything one desired here. It was precisely due to this that Lindong was once again surprised to see something that Mu Lingshan required after the various dazzling objects came flowing out like water. It was the Sea King Spirit Grass that had been mentioned 2 days ago. This item would be a great help in undoing her seal. Such a spiritual ingredient was usually precious. However, not many people purchased it due to its unique effect. Hence, Lindong managed to purchase this Sea King Spirit Grass at a price of 1 million. Lindong had just obtained the Sea King Spirit Grass when another clearly bell sound emerged on the auction stage. After which, he was stunned to see a crystal coffin appearing on the stage. There was a completely black and dry corpse inside the crystal coffin. Lindong looked at the completely black corpse. For some unknown reason, the devouring ancestral symbol within his body suddenly began to tremble at this moment. This is the sky-devouring corpse. Lindong heard Yang's somewhat stunned voice within his mind the moment the devouring ancestral symbol shook. This video will end here.